So it is Thursday night. A little bit annoyed right now because the bench Janishi video has been up for like over 10 hours and I just got a copyright notice on it, which is fine. I'm used to them flagging it for copyrighted content, but all my other videos, what they did was they only made it so that I wouldn't get the revenue from it. Totally not in this to make money anyways, so it was never such a big deal. However, with this one, it was manually reviewed and they pulled it from the United States and 4 other countries, so that's really annoying. So I'm going to go in and change the track tonight.
The next day.
So what's up, guys? It is 6:15 right now and I just got out of the shower. I've made it a very conscientious decision today to do nothing but sit on my butt and watch anime. I know it sounds bad, but this week really put me through the ringer as far as like schoolwork and things like that. So now that's the weekend, I was like, I just want to chill. But I got out of the shower, was getting ready to start my day, and then yeah, lo and behold, I get this little message. So we're gonna do that first because it is Emily asking us. My Oshi has returned, dude. And you know, you can't say no to your Oshi, whether it's your club Oshi, your actual idol Oshi, your family Oshi, whatever it is, you don't say no.
Oh yeah, no.
Okay, that's pretty dope. So I was basically just mobilizing and getting prepared physically to go do my deadlifts today, when I thought that this would actually be a good opportunity for me to talk to you guys a little bit about how to build strength. It's something I do get asked a lot, especially from friends and things like that. So rather than individually answer this question, I figured I can just do it in a video. So with that said, here are 3 tips on how to build strength. So tip number 1 would be to spend more time building strength than testing it. And what I mean by that is, all too often I see people who are just getting into powerlifting or lifting in general spend way too much of their time working way too heavy. So I actually picked up this tip from Matt Wenning, a top level powerlifter. He was on a powerlifting podcast called The Powercast by Mark Bell. I encourage everyone to be checking out their channel if you're interested in building strength or powerlifting. But he talks about workload being done. It's just simply put, you can get so much more work in working at a lighter weight than you can doing heavy weights. So if we take the example of squats, my current squat max is 485. Let me bust out the calculator. So if I did 485 for, let's say, 5 singles, which is pushing it considering it's a max, right? We're only gonna be getting about 2,425 pounds of work done. Whereas opposed to on this program, for my first week, the lightest week, mind you, I was doing 275 pounds for 5 sets of 10. So that nets us 13,750 pounds of work being done. And while you can't completely translate this to how much strength is being built versus each other, it does give you an idea of the total amount of work you can get done. The more work you get done, the more strength you will build. While my sport is powerlifting and I do have to get good at lifting maximal weight, that's really how you should be treating those times where you do go for those max effort lifts, is practicing, preparing your central nervous system and your body for picking up a heavy weight. This shouldn't be the majority of your training, however. I know a lot of people kind of freak out when they don't really get to touch a heavy weight for a long time. I'm gonna put 2 clips of myself up real quick. I mean, if you've been watching, you'd already see it, but it's good to see a comparison of the 2. These lifts are only about 3 weeks apart, maybe. You can see that, you know, while I haven't been touching anything heavier, heavier weight actually moves much easier in the more recent clip, and that's because I have been working on accumulating strength rather than just testing my strength all the time. Something I see a lot in the gym is grinding. For those who don't know, grinding looks like this, where really you want your lift to be looking more like this. So grinding isn't a bad thing. if you are doing something max effort, say you're in a meet or you're testing your maxes, but if you're consistently going in the gym and your working sets are consistently being grinded out, not only are you building a not very functional movement pattern, but you're just overworking. There's a big difference between what should happen in a meet and what should be going on consistently in your training. If you ever watch Ed Cohn, who's like one of the best powerlifters of all time, if not the best, he talks about rarely ever really hitting a max effort lift, even in competition. If you just consistently progress, let's say you're hitting 90% of your max, right? As you get stronger, that 90% is gonna go up, and so you don't ever really have to hit that 100% ceiling. Moving on, so our next one kind of goes along with the first one, but it's have a plan. Really, all too often I see people just kind of go into the gym not really knowing what they're doing. And this is bad for a couple of reasons. First of all, if you don't really have a plan, you're just gonna go in willy-nilly. You're not gonna be as focused and you're not gonna push yourself as hard. We talked about volume and intensity and things like that previously. Having a program will help keep you accountable so that you do hit volume, enough volume when you're supposed to, and then you will get the practice in doing maximal weight when you're supposed to. For this, I do recommend, if you're not a very experienced lifter, to use the resources you have. And so even now, if I'm not using someone else's program specifically, I am taking their program and tweaking it to fit me. And that's something that I can do just because I have enough experience lifting to know what works best with me. But until then, I really recommend just using someone else's program and sticking with it and then discovering what works best for you. I recommend programs like Mark Ripito's Starting Strength, Strong Lifts. Jim Wendler's 531 is another great one. And also just give these programs some time. Even with my own program that I wrote for myself, the first couple weeks, my body just wasn't that adjusted to the kind of workload I was putting it through. Even though it's technically getting harder as I go now, it's just not wrecking my body as much. So yeah, give your body a couple weeks to adjust to the program first before you make any decisions. I do want to make this point, and this is something I've been seeing a lot now that fitness YouTubers are a really big thing and their followings. People really hate on the cookie cutter program. I just want to say that there is a distinction between a cookie cutter program and a cookie cutter coach. There's nothing wrong with cookie cutter programming, especially because most of these programs aren't that expensive. You can find PDFs and stuff like that online. And the simple fact is, when it comes to building strength, our bodies aren't that much different. However, what does change from person to person is our leverages. So basically, the length of our limbs compared to our torso, things like that. What form we're gonna have to use for lifting. If you're gonna pay for a coach, make sure that it's a coach that's not just gonna tell you the exact same instructions that they give everybody. You want someone that will give you individualized attention. That being said, when it comes to programming, you don't need something special. My exceptions to this would be for the most elite level of athletes, but even then, by that point, you kind of know what you're doing. Maybe bodybuilders, as far as like what your weak points may be physique-wise, but even then, for most people, the goal is the same: to build more lean mass and to get rid of extra fat mass. So you're not that special snowflake that you thought you were. You're not that unique. Sorry. Last point is basically to be mindful of how you spend your time outside of the gym. So as I said earlier, I was just doing some mobility work. That is probably one of the things that people tend to ignore the most. Whether you're using different kind of stretching methods or myofascial release, whatever you use, spend that time to make sure that you can get into a good position, and also that lifting is influencing your posture positively. I see way too many people who, over years of lifting, they have just really bad posture. Like their chest is super tight and their shoulders roll forward and their abs are super tight, so their backs hunch over and things like that. And that's just a dysfunctional position to be in. It's not effective towards lifting. It's not healthy in the long run. Your lifting should be improving your quality of life, not ruining it. Mobility and flexibility are entirely important to powerlifting. People think that it's just about strength, but a lot of powerlifting involves basically getting into a good start position. If you lack the mobility, if you lack the flexibility, you're just going to find yourself not able to get into a good position, and that causes you to A, lift more dangerously, and B, lift less effectively. The more weights you can lift safely, the more strength you will build in the long run. Next part of being mindful of how you spend your time outside of the gym is just not overworking. This is something that I kind of found myself in, and I know a lot of people do. And basically what this means is you're just not giving your body the time it needs to recover between your workouts. And this can be really, really dangerous. Simply put, there's a really big fear in the fitness community about something called overtraining. Maybe it's just semantics, but for me, I don't really believe in overtraining as much as I believe in under-recovering. And I get it. I'm just kind of switching words around, but let me explain. People think that if you spend too much time during your workout, you hit this point where you're not benefiting anymore. That's not really the issue. It's not these small periods of training that really start to affect you negatively. What it is the accumulation of these, periods without enough rest between. Think about it this way, you don't build muscle in the gym. When you work out, you're actually causing micro tears in the muscle, basically giving your body a reason to grow and to get stronger. Now, how it does that is through your rest and your diet that you actually get stronger and fitter. So if you're constantly training and not giving your body that time that it needs to recover, you're gonna find some really negative health effects. And this is probably the most important point about building strength, is to be mindful about your diet and your sleep. Especially for students, but I know a lot of professionals as well suffer from this, where you can do all the work in the gym that you need to do, but all the outside stuff like diet and sleep you neglect. You're putting a constant stress on your body through your lifting, and so you actually need more recovery time than the average person, because you're not just recovering from brain load and things like that, but there's also a physical load. During this last summer, actually, that's how recent it is, Josh and I, you've seen him in videos before, we actually made it a point to make sure that we would get enough sleep. And at this point, I thought physically that my body was already starting to reach its limits, when I realized that what was holding me back was just my lifestyle, and just getting enough sleep, I started making consistent progress in the gym again. And so it makes a huge difference. Diet is another huge thing. And this is whatever your goals are, whether you're just trying to get leaner, you're trying to build strength, you're trying to build more muscle mass, you need to have your diet dialed in. And whether that means counting your macros or just eating clean, find what works best for you and adhere to it. If you're trying to build strength and size, eat in a caloric surplus. If you're trying to lose weight, eat at a caloric deficit. What surplus and deficit looks like, that's going to vary from person to person. But aside from that, it's basic thermodynamics. If you burn more calories than you eat, you're going to lose weight. If you absorb more calories than you burn, then you're going to gain weight. You can't fight physics, guys. So yeah, that's basically it. If you guys do have any more detailed questions, or just any kind of questions really, feel free to hit me up on Ask FM or on my Twitter. These are 3 foundations that anybody can start with to get better. So that being said, I'm gonna get ready to go deadlift.
自分らしく